I know you know what an air filter is for your house, and I know you know because you always feel really guilty when you don't change it as often as you should. It's a problem everywhere, but we're going to talk today on this episode of In the House about what the purpose of your home's air filter really is. Let's go. In the House is an Any Hour Services podcast geared towards helping homeowners learn more about maintaining and repairing their homes. I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and today I've got a special guest with me today, Dave Harvey. He's also with Any Hour Services, but a very special Any Hour Services guest. Dave Harvey is actually one of the owners of the Arizona Any Hour Services. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be talking about filters, like I mentioned. What is the purpose of an air filter, Dave?
You know, the purpose of the filter has one job to do, and that is to protect the equipment. A lot of consumers mistake that for air quality, but its sole reason for existence is to protect that equipment, protect your investment.
Right, because there's a lot of stuff in the air, right? Dirt, pet dander, like all kinds of things. And what happens if the filter isn't there and it just gets into the equipment?
Well, if the filter's not there, or if it's dirty and it gets dragged through the filter because there's so much on it, it will go up into your evaporator coil, which is the thing that transfers temperature. Mm-hmm. And that's what really cools your house. As well as that gets clogged, then your efficiency goes down, your electric bill goes up, and your comfort goes down.
Right. So like all of the components inside, you can have buildup on the blower fan, right? That cuts down the efficiency. And then I like to think of the air filter almost as like a pre-filter to the coil, because the coil is just like the coils outside where they look like a radiator. That's kind of like the next filter because things get clogged up on it, right?
That's correct.
And then you can't like transfer the heat. And I'm assuming in Arizona you have systems ice up the same way that we do down here.
We do. And then when that happens, we get really uncomfortable. So just keeping things simple, just changing your air filter once a month. I usually change mine whenever I pay my electric bill.
Okay.
That's a reminder for me to go ahead and get that thing changed.
So you're saying change it once a month?
Once a month. And then the best filter to pick is not the cheapest, but not the most expensive. I like to use a corrugated filter that I change every 30 days. So
is there a difference in, well, actually, let me ask you this. So where are filters, if someone doesn't know, unfortunately, we've been into homes and they were unaware of where the filter was and we had to help them locate it. So if there is somebody listening that's not quite sure where their air filter is, where are the most common places to check?
Where the first place you wouldn't want to check is close to your thermostat, because that's what's measuring the airflow. It's telling you what the temperature of the house is. So you want to check in that area. And if it's not there, then you want to go to your furnace or your air handler, and it's probably going to be at the bottom of that.
Okay. So either in a return air vent, like where you can like see that thing is bringing the air back to the system. So you're going to want to like change the filter there.
Exactly.
Or they install them at the equipment, like as the air is coming back into the furnace.
That's correct.
Okay. And you're saying change it once a month. Now there are different kinds of filters out there. And when I say different kinds, there's different sizes, different thicknesses, there's different, and we'll explain MERV rating, but there's different quality of air filter. Talk us through what those different things are.
You know, the easiest thing to remember about the type of filter, stay in the mid-range. Don't get the one with the blue fiber where you can see through it, because it really doesn't stop anything. And then again, don't get the one that's most expensive and they tell you to change it every 90 days, because there you're probably causing a little bit of a restriction. And so you want one mid-range. Right.
So the reason that a dirty filter is so problematic is because, like what you just said, restriction, right? Because your system operates off of airflow. If there's no airflow, thing's not working.
That's how we condition the air, off airflow.
And so with your point of like the cheapest filters are usually the ones that filter the least amount of stuff out of the air, and so it's just kind of letting the air go by.
Yep.
Right?
Stops the big stuff, but the small stuff still gets through, and we still have a clog.
And the more expensive ones, so the MERV rating, the lower the MERV rating, the bigger the openings are going to be. It's going to catch bigger particles. But the higher the MERV rating, the fibers are knit much closer, and they keep out much smaller particles, but it also restricts the airflow.
That's correct.
And that's why you say go with the mid-range.
Go with the mid-range. Yep.
And that's also why it's so important to keep the filter clean, is because even if you have that mid-range, the more dirt and pet hair and things that it collects, it is also restricting the airflow.
Yes.
Awesome. Let's see. Do you have any tips for people on how to remember? You said whenever I pay my electric bill, but I'm a little bit younger than you. Like mine's auto draft. I don't even know what day of the month my electric bill comes out.
Just put a reminder in your phone or on your calendar, once first of the month.
Right. So, and that's just right now. Like, hey Siri, remind me to change my air filter every month.
Okay. Your reminder is set starting July 1st, 2022.
Boom. That's simple. And
That's
now it's
simple.
a reoccurring thing. It's on my phone. It's got a little thing. I can click it on and off. Now your task is going to be not to just ignore it when it pops up, because it's easy to do. And it's like, oh, well, I just changed it. I'm just going to let it go by. And if you forget, it's so easy to forget to do that thing, but
Best
it's so
to get
important.
in the habit.
Right.
Just keep it changed because it'll save money in the long run.
Right. It'd be nice if you could communicate with your electric company or somebody and just be like, hey, we should have something set up where you get a text message every month to do it, or an email. I tell you what, if you're listening and you need help remembering, email mike.wilson@anyhourservices.com. Let me know that you want to receive an email every month reminding you to replace your filter. If that would be helpful, let me know. I'll try and figure something out for you. Okay, so filters. So talk to me a little bit more about what happens if the filter doesn't get changed. What are some of the other negatives that happen with a dirty filter?
Well, what happens is that the dirt will get past the filter and then it'll get into the cooling coil. And when that happens, the dirt that's on the coil will get washed down into the drain, the condensation line, and then it'll back up. And then from there, we could have water coming out over the drain pan and going into the living space, and it could cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
If that happens.
Okay, so lots of negative effects that could happen. How does lack of airflow? I know there's a lot of heat pumps in Arizona. Does it affect heat pumps differently, a lack of airflow from a standard air conditioner?
It does. It affects both kind of the same, because the compressor for a air conditioner or compressor for a heat pump is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So as that coil gets backed up, that cooling coil gets backed up with dirt, now we're going to raise the refrigerant temperature, and it's going to go back to the compressor a little bit hotter than what it should. And it's each revolution that refrigerant goes through the cycle and gets back to the compressor, it's going to heat up. And then now our compressor's not cooling like it should. The compressor's cooled by the refrigerant as it comes back, and then that could lead to compressor failure, and that's a big repair.
And that's something that's more common on heat pumps?
It's common on both.
Okay.
Both air conditioners and heat pumps, because the compressor runs in heat mode and it runs in cooling mode.
Right. Man, I think that there's a lot of people that just think, oh, well, if I forget to change my air filter, I'll just have more dust in the house that I've got to mess with. But there's so many more things. I think your first point about the filter's purpose isn't actually to make your life better. It's there to protect the equipment and make sure it keeps running, which does make your life better. But there are some things that you could do. Like you mentioned, people think that it's for air quality, but it's really for, protecting the system. If someone does want to affect the quality of the air, I mean, your HVAC system is circulating all of the air in the home. So it makes sense that if you were going to try and improve the quality of the air inside, that you would want to leverage that HVAC system that's circulating all the air. So if someone was concerned about air quality, what are some things that they could do when it comes to the filters to improve the air quality in their home?
Well, you could tackle that two ways. There's multi types of air filtration systems out there. We call them air scrubbers. I prefer one that goes into the airstream, so it doesn't give you any restriction of airflow. Let the filter do its job, and then let an air scrubber or air purifier do its job, and that goes after the viruses and the stuff that we want to get rid of. and they seem pretty effective.
Gotcha. Is there anything, I mean, filters, again, it's kind of a basic topic, and so I don't know that like we need to talk it to death, but is there anything like major you think we've left out about filters, or do you think we covered it?
I don't think so. One thing, this is what I remember is your air conditioner, your heat pump is it's an investment, and the job of the filter is to protect that investment. It's really cheap to replace it every 30 days and keep that investment intact.
All right. Well, this is your reminder, folks. If you're listening to this episode, go change your filter. Dave, thanks so much for being here and talking to us about air filters. For all those that are listening, watching, thanks so much for the attention. I hope you found this helpful. Make sure you listen, subscribe, like, follow, whatever you got to do to make sure you get notified next time we release a new episode of In the House. I've been your host, Mike Wilson. If you'd like to know more about Any Hour Services, visit anyhourservices.com. Thanks for listening. See ya.